All right. So first take, you had an evolution with this show.
Yeah.
And watching, different guests, you've had some really compelling arguments.
Yeah.
It's gone to some dark places a couple of times.
Yeah.
The way ESPN kind of pumps the stuff out on social.
Sure.
It seems like you almost get rewarded. Sometimes not you, but other people on the show. Kind of the crazier the take is, sometimes that's the one that hits the hardest. The stuff with Perkins and JJ and the Jokic and Embiid debate, which I thought was one of my least favorite NBA subplots probably the last 20 years, and certainly one of the worst media subplots. As you look back at that whole stretch, do you wish things had unfolded differently? Do you feel like that's just the outcome of the show, where there's going to be tough conversations like that?
But are you asking me about JJ and Perk, or overall is what I'm asking? What are you asking
just
me?
The narrative. All right, you're right. I phrased that wrong. The narrative coming out, Perk, his job is to try to provoke on a show like that, right? And he's trying to provoke conversation about, all right, why is Jokic going to win a third straight MVP? Why isn't Embiid? And starts listing MVPs back to 1990. Why are 80% of the voters white and stuff like that? And all of a sudden the debate turned. And as that's happening, how are you, because it's your show, you're in control of it, and then you're watching JJ, who's really mad about it, and he's bringing his stuff, and they're starting to really go at it. But this is your show, like it's your house. People, these are your guests that have been invited over. Right. What's your role in that? And do you feel like that can go too far?
That's a great question. First of all, it can't go too far. Secondly, in that particular show, it did go too far. I thought both of them were wrong to a degree in terms of how far it went. Because on one hand, I thought, you got to remember, Perkins had said what he said days earlier.
Yep.
JJ wasn't on the show. And so what happens is, me being now the executive producer of the show, not just the main talent on the show, I saw that days earlier. I understood where Perk was coming from. But if you recall, I was debating against him when he had initially said it, and I disagreed with him. I said, that has nothing to do with it. That's not true. But I didn't know the amount of white voters compared to black voters or whatever. I just said, that has nothing to do with it. Jokic can ball. This is what he brings to the table. I've never heard anybody saying that he's stat chasing or anything like that. Never. I cover the league. I've never heard that, Perk, right? But I also have to take this into consideration. If Bill Simmons were to come on First Take, no one comes on First Take without coming through me. I'm the person that everybody comes to now. Pete McConville and Tom DeCordia now there. James Dunn is a producer as well. They do an exceptional job. Dave Roberts oversees it. Obviously, I answer to him. We all answer to him. But they all defer to me. And so for me...
Yeah, it's your house. You're inviting people to the table.
So everybody I brought on the show, this is what I demand from them. Be your true, authentic self. Don't come on here with no phony shit. Don't have me or our audience looking at you and thinking you're faking something or you're saying something for just effect. You need to feel it. Here's where it gets tricky, Bill. What happens is sometimes in the heat of a debate, you're saying something. And then you catch yourself, you're like, oh shit, what did I just say? I really didn't mean to go there, right?
Yeah.
And so I stopped it by saying, Perk, there's no truth to that. This is not what's said about Jokic. He's not stat chasing. People ain't looking at him, etc. Yeah, sure, you got voters that have their preferences, white, black, and otherwise, and it may not have anything to do with race. It might have something to do with something else. But everybody's got their preferences to some degree. We understand that. But I think you're walking down the wrong road here. And I left it at that. What I didn't know was the fury that, at least it appeared to be fury to me, that JJ Redick was feeling over the subject. And so when he came on one hand, I understood why he felt the way he felt, rather, because of what Perk had said. On the other hand, I was saying to JJ, this is your colleague, on the show. And if you feel that way, did you have to come at him like that? Because it did get uncomfortable. Now, we argued about a point because Skip Bayless and I used to argue, or Max and I used to argue, or anybody that you see on the show would argue. We're arguing over the subject matter that we're talking about, and that's that. What's up, man? See you later. Good job. You'll see me the minute we go to commercial break. Way to go, bro. No problem, no matter how heated it got, because it was on the subject. JJ and Kendrick made it appear like it was about them. And that's when I knew it was bad. And I stepped in. I said, all right, guys, all right, cool out. One point after another, make your point. Let's move on. But it wasn't comfortable. You're right about that. And it hasn't happened again because we spoke to both of them about that.
Have they been? They've been on the show together since, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Yeah, I think the most uncomfortable I've seen, and this was a long time ago when Jalen went at Skip Bayless that time about how many points and Jalen, like he had real reasons to do it, right?
Yes.
And he felt really strongly about it. And he was tired of certain things and he just did it. And it was super uncomfortable.
And at the time, I told Skip, because I wasn't on the show at that time. I came on like months later.
Yeah.
I wasn't on the show at that time. But, obviously Skip and Jalen's relationship hadn't been the same since.
No.
And I was like, yo, Skip, you came at him. He came back. I mean, fair is fair. Now, he might not have needed to go that far, and I get it. But we also got to know our place. Like, for example, Skip has been a journalist for decades before becoming a columnist and, working in Chicago and LA and Dallas and all of these other places, right? That's your lane. Bill Simmons knows basketball. I know basketball. We ain't Jalen Rose. We're not a member of the Fab Five with a 13-year career in the NBA. And so, when you're talking about the game and you're trying to compare on-court significance, well, I know that I wasn't on the level of Jalen Rose. You see what I'm saying? And Skip at the time should have known that too. And the argument should have been about what you know about this business as opposed to players themselves as if you were one when that was not the case. That's all. And I think that a lot of times when we're arguing with athletes, one of the reasons you see a lot of athletes on the air, you notice they're laughing a lot and they're smiling a lot when they're talking to me because they know, Bill, I know I'm not them. I'm not trying to come at them as if I know what they know about every little nuance because that's impossible. But I can say as a pundit, as a person who's been a journalist, this is the perspective that I'm coming from. Imagine me walking into the locker room and confronting you as a scribe, as a pundit. How would you react if I came at you with these questions or these perspectives? And so they recognize that, and it makes for better conversation because they don't feel challenged as if you're diminishing them and what they've accomplished. And I think that's incredibly important to do.
Well, I remember, I think you were on the show when Richard Sherman came on that time and went at Skip, and it was kind of promoted. That got me suspended from Twitter because I saw it and I was like, I feel like this is not elevating the company. This is angry. I don't like it. So I did like 2 tweets about it, and they were like, you can't tweet about another ESPN show, you moron. And they suspended me from Twitter. And I was like, you're right. I actually shouldn't have said anything.
I would tell you this. Here's where I think that thinking that you just expressed about Richard Sherman doing that on the show is wrong.
Yeah.
If an athlete listens to me or you, and we constantly call them on the call, they have a right to get fed up one day and come on the air and call us out.
Yeah.
So of course it wasn't a good look. Of course it wasn't a good thing. But my argument to John Skipper at the time, who was the boss, and Norby Williamson and others of the world, my argument to them was that, but it's still necessary. Because even though that wasn't a good look, what was good is that we made sure to not edit out what an athlete had to say about us since we talked about them. Because a lot of times with athletes, what will piss them off more than anything is what we call the bully pulpit. We have it, and a lot of times they did it, or they don't. And because of that, it's like, wait a minute, it's not right. If you're going to do it, then take it. I had an athlete come up to me last year and pat me on the back and was like this. I'm saying, he said, I want to see if you got that same smoke in front of my face that you have on television. And I looked at him and I said, I'm standing here, ain't I? Who the hell you think you're talking to? I meant what the hell I said on TV. You need me to say it again? You see what I'm saying? Now, I wasn't trying to disrespect him. But what I was trying to say is, ain't no act. I said it, I meant it. I stand on it. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Show me why I'm wrong. But don't think that you're going to intimidate me just because you coming up in my face. I'm not scared of that. I said what I said and I meant what I meant. And I think that's important to be able to do. And I think it's important to be able to allow an athlete to do the same to you.